A V-mount battery is absolutely imperative if you need to power a full rig kit or if you just need power options for your camera. Do not wait like I did for years before I started using V-mount batteries. Now, Neewer was nice enough to send this version out to me, which is their PS099E. It's currently a sale on the Neewer website. You can also find it on Amazon, etc. I'll put links in the description below. But as always, this is an honest and transparent review. It's buyer focused, consumer friendly. So one of the things that I waited too long for was to understand how important a V-mount battery can be in your setup. So if you're a new user or you're starting to get into that space where you're starting to have more things attached to your camera or even on your desk setup, we'll talk about that in a second, then you should consider a V-mount battery. And so I'm going to talk about the things that I've really enjoyed about this, and maybe one or two caveats or things that areas of opportunity for this specific battery. As far as using this, in practicality, I haven't depleted this in the time that I shot. I shot for about 2 hours shooting basketball, and then I was just shooting around the house, just stop and go. It's not just me turning the camera. People do those tests and it's like, with the camera on at full power, it lasts. I don't do that type of stuff. I typically will try to just use it in my normal everyday case to see if it's going to last my normal everyday use case. And if it does that, then it's good enough for me to recommend. And so I can say from that standpoint, using my Pixis setup right here, it is good enough to recommend. So it comes with a 1.12-inch OLED screen. And from there, you can see anything that's being drawn from that particular port. And it is really nice and easy to read, even in a bright day. So that's cool. There's a power button on the front that you can touch and click to always understand what your power is, like how much battery you have. There's a D-tap on the right-hand side of there. So you got one D-tap on the battery there. And then on the back side, you have USB-A and a USB-C port there. And again, I put all the specs up. And then on the top, you have DC output. So you have a 12 right there, and then you also have an 8-volt. So 12-volt, 8-volt DC out on top of the battery there. But nice thing about that is that there's a lot of options for this. Inside the box, you get the manual and other books and information that you need as far as like the warranty and stuff like that. So this comes with a D-tap female to D-tap male cable, and that's in case you need to extend or whatever the case may be, depending on how your rig is set up. Now, I have this Condor Blue D-tap cable that I use all the time with my V-mount batteries because I'm used to using it. It works really well, have no issues with power. So I could attach that there. You can see the light, and that's why I like it. You can always tell if its power is being drawn just by looking at the cable because it has that light there. I purchased these a while ago, and I had these for a minute, and I have not used them yet. But this is a 65-watt DC output to USB-C, and so you can get something like this to add extra USB-C output to your battery, and that goes into the 8-volt there. This one I have here is a 12-volt, and it's a 12-volt to USB-C female adapter, and so that way I can add 2 more USB-C cables to it, and that allows me to use those 2 outputs and the power that comes out of those 2 particular outputs for using USB-C inputs. And so that's a really nice thing there. And that takes me to the, I guess, not necessarily a limitation, but it is a caveat that you have to understand. There's only naturally one USB-C input there, and then there's USB-A. So if you needed a V-mount battery with a bunch of USB-C inputs, this isn't going to be the one for you. But you can buy extra cables like this at a fairly reasonable price, and I'll put these links in the description as well, so you can see how much those cost to expand that USB-C capability. And because typically the stuff that I use is heavy USB-C, I don't use a lot of like in studio environment type stuff that's going to require 12 volts and stuff like that, and so typically most of the stuff that I use is USB-C. Here is something that I purchased on my own. I am a fan of the Neewer brand, so that's something that you should be aware of. I have a lot of their stuff, so whenever they want to send me stuff and work with me, I'm completely cool with that. They didn't pay me for this review. I accepted the battery as the collaboration for the video, but I like their products. I pay for this with my own money, and I'll put the link for the description in the below. But one of the things that I use this for, here is my setup that I'm working on right now, which is my Blackmagic Video Assist 12G SDI. And what I'm working on is basically the new Blackmagic and Sony update that allows you to record B-roll using a Blackmagic monitor in the Sony camera. So anyway, what I typically do with this camera setup, which this is my Sony FX30, is I put this on here like so, and this does come with its own plate, but I use a Falcam case, body case here. But anyway, the way that I use this is that I can build out my FX30 rig for when I'm going on like sports shoots and things like that, because I do a lot of sports videography and photography. And this particular camera is nice because of the megapixels that it has for photos, and then it can do 4K 120, 4K 60, etc. So this is perfect for sports. Underrated things about a V-mount battery. Typically with Sony cameras, and specifically we use like some of the Canon cameras, if I was to take my Pixis, not my Pixis, but my Blackmagic Cinema Camera 6K, battery life on that is not the best. So using something like this with a V-mount gives you all day shooting without having to worry about running out of battery, and without having to carry stuff like this along with me to, you know, house my batteries, etc. I can just take this V-mount battery, put it on this base right here, and then power my camera all day. And I can still use this with my tripods, just like that, and still have my camera as needed. It's completely powered, can use it all day depending on what I'm doing and how I'm shooting without any issue whatsoever. So again, don't wait like me, you know, buying a ton of different batteries, specifically if you use multiple different bodies, because I started with Fuji, then Sony, then Blackmagic, and I was buying batteries for all of these different things when really I needed just the base battery that comes with the camera itself, and then a V-mount. And then from there, you're good to go, and you can switch between the different bodies without having to buy those extra batteries, because the Sony batteries are like $79 a piece, whereas this is $89 to $139, and it's going to power my camera all day. And so with that being said, if you're capable of rigging out and using something like this, then I would definitely suggest looking into a V-mount battery. And V-mount batteries aren't just for camera bodies. You can plug in a lot of stuff with a V-mount battery, whether, especially with the USB-C, your new iPhone, lights, microphones for power, your iPads, your laptop, different things like that. This is a 65 watt bi-directional USB-C, meaning that you can charge this battery with a USB-C cable from a power brick, and you don't have to even have a V-mount battery charger. So this is self-sufficient by itself. I don't know, let me know any questions you may have in the comment section below. I think this is a phenomenal V-mount battery. It's worked really well. I'm happy to add this to my kit, and I will be using this a lot going forward. So I do get to keep this. I mean, if that's important to you, stuff like some people pay attention to those things, but regardless of where the products come from, it's always an honest, transparent, buyer, consumer-friendly review, because at the end of the day, no product is perfect. It's always going to be based on your use case and how you're going to use it, and whether or not that product fits into that. Whether or not you trust the person that you're listening to is an integrity thing based on that particular person, not the product. So keep that in mind when you're watching your reviews. If you enjoyed today's content and you want to see more like it, consider subscribing, joining that cozy coalition. And as always, stay cozy in that crazy world, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.